Dateline 1915. The Ottoman Turks attempt to rid the world of Armenians in a brutal genocide, displacing them to countries throughout Eastern Europe and the Middle East. This is the true story of an Armenian man whose life began as the son of a refugee in Bulgaria, who fought his way through prisons in Iraq and Iran and ultimately landed on American soil in California.
My name is Zaros the. They call me Zarko.
My name is Mimi Demian. I'm Zarko's second daughter. I was named after his cat, but we'll get into that later. Throughout my life, Zarko entertained our family, telling us the stories of his escape from poverty and prisons, of meeting our mother, and finally, of his realization of the American dream.
He's always been open about his life.
I think when he does tell his stories, I kind of like eavesdrop when I'm walking by, I can hear him. I think he usually does say like, so anyways, I think he says that a lot.
Anyway.
Being that he's 93, his short-term memory is a little more affected, but long-term memory, he is just filled with stories.
Anyway.
Late into the evening, and now probably 2, 3 in the morning, it would be myself and Zarko and a bottle of cognac in their living room. The girls would have all gone up to bed, and I remember listening to his stories.
I think that he's crazy, because like, in a good way though, because like, he'll be, I've heard like my dad and him talking to each other while like I'm sitting somewhere like, and just like kind of listening into the conversation, and all his stories just sound like they're not even real, but they are.
Every year he'd come out with a new one, and I thought, and I'd be excited to hear the new stories because they're so amazing. You think about this life this person has lived.
That's one really, really nice thing, is that he shares so many stories with us.
One of my childhood friends that we've been friends since birth, his name's Sam, he is in awe of my grandpa. He thinks he's just the bravest, strongest, most intelligent man. He loves sitting with him, loves talking to him.
Anyway.
But most people you meet have similar type experiences, but his experiences are so different than anybody I had ever met before. And so I remember looking forward to going back and talking to him again and hanging out with him and learning more and more of his stories.
But the big one that he's probably told me every single time I've ever seen him, the same story, every single time I've seen him.
He'll repeat stories, but it's kind of nice to hear them again, because sometimes I forget, because he has so many different stories. I feel like that's a complete other lifetime.
Any of our friends that we bring home to our grandparents, they are just always in awe of our grandpa.
Anyway.
In 1993, he recorded his stories on cassette tapes, and we published them in a book titled Stateless. At 93, Zarko is still a force, and he continues to inspire us every single day. To escape the genocide inflicted by the Turks, Zarko's father moved his family out of harm's way to Bulgaria, where he opened a coffee shop. He was born in Bulgaria in 1927. At a very young age, he did not want to go to school.
I didn't like school. Only 4 years. And we all, with my daddy, been arguing. And he says, son, you are a smart guy. Everything, why don't you go to school? And I said, how come you didn't go to school?
For him to not want to go to school, he helped his dad, who had a coffee shop.
My father was looking like a movie star, like John Wayne. I mean, he was something else. Even from the school, they became the teachers. Why Zarko didn't come to school? That's all, just to see my dad. Not one. And he was really gorgeous. But he was really good father to me, good father.
With World War II winding down, Zarko and his two best friends, Hovagim and Ovanes, were compelled to leave Bulgaria in search of a better life and to help support the family they left behind.
At 14 years old, I started to think fantasy. Fantasy, I mean, I've been saying to everybody, because I've been watching movie, lot of movie, John Wayne, things like that. I've been saying to everybody, I'm gonna go America. That time. I don't care what's gonna happen, I'm gonna go America.
He leaves Bulgaria because it's World War II, and his two friends are starving because they don't have any bread to eat. And they decided, two of his buddies, they were like the Three Musketeers, they fled Bulgaria.
As they're traveling through snow, he reminded me that they slept in a cemetery because they had to hide from soldiers as they're going through different countries with his two friends. And I'll always remember that he's the most brave out of them, because he would always say they wouldn't want to jump out of a train. They had to jump out of a train at one point. So he's the first one who jumped out. And then he says, my coward friends, and they followed, And then he has his scars from falling on the train tracks.
The proof.
I can say I'm a hero, but they was afraid to jump. I jumped first, right there.
Jumped off of trains, slept in deserts, and made it to Iran, but back then they didn't have any paperwork. Unfortunately, the Three Musketeers found themselves in an Iranian prison. And they're in a prison with murders on one level.
On the second floor up, the political, like us, we are political. We are not, what they call it, criminal.
They were in this prison for 5 years and waited to get out.
Every time they've been taking 1 or 2 times a year. The judge is not here today. Next week, we going again. Next week, judge is sick. 5 years.
And they said, nope, not today. Nope, not today. And Dad would go back, and the tenacity and the determination that he had.
Finally, the Armenian, which is that place, Tehran, they had the money, rich people in Tehran. They help us. They find out there's a 3 Armenian anti-communism. They are in a jail, and they help us, and they take him out.
Even though it may sound like adventures to other people, it was tragic. I mean, every day they were, living in fear pretty much as they were trying to get through, but they were great at surviving. Mm-hmm. So they had that in them. They had their youth, so they were very lucky. They were strong enough to survive it.
Anyway, 5 years is nothing. I was about 20 years. When we came out, 25.
Finally, when they did, they traveled to Iraq, again, with the hopes of making it to America. Now in Iraq, they get pulled back into as prisoners of war for 8 months. They're in a concrete prison. They're shackled up this time with chains. And there was someone in that prison that would really talk badly about different religions.
The Turk came over and asked you if he can stay with you in the same cell.
Same. What nationality you are? I said Armenian. Armenian? Oh, sis. Poor Armenian, how many we killed?
Not only that, we raped all the women and we killed all the children. And he was bragging. He was bragging about it. And that's when Hovagim, his best friend, just went nuts. Internally, he was saying, and he told my dad in Armenian, I need to do something to this man because he's way too proud of what they did to the Armenian people.
Yeah, that Hovagim, era extra shawarunek memeka, but edit raf, era kitim perani raf, merube. That's it. Finish.
So my dad held down his legs. Hovagim, his best friend, took an extra pair of his pants that he had, put it over the Turk's face, held it down for not more than a minute, and it was over.
I'm not criminal. I didn't do nothing.
Isn't that something?
So when they went outside, him and Hovagim went outside under the sunlight, a lot of people were around, and then the body was found, discovered, and he was dead. And so all the other prisoners were gathering around going, what happened, what happened? And my dad and Hovagim, they met up with these new Russian prisoners. And then when the Russian prisoners, who are communists, they found out that my dad and his best friend spoke Russian. So they wanted to speak Russian to one another, to learn. And then my dad and his friend were saying, what's going on back there? There are so many prisoners gathering around. And the Russians just said, oh, there's someone who's just like passed away. So no one knew anything better. No one knew anything.
For us, nothing.
Yeah.
The people, this, policemen, they run over there. I said, what's going on? Because
You
of
played
the,
dumb.
Yeah.
That you had nothing to
The
do with
old man is died, had heart attack.
He said if my friend wasn't going to kill him, I was going to kill him, because that is the only thought that I had.
I like that, I can very easy to kill him.
Yeah.
Because he's what they call him, already she killed how many Armenian.
Yeah.
I don't care Armenian either.
And he screams in the middle of the night because they've got to be real. Sometimes you think, yeah, we weren't there. We're not in those countries that he was in. He must have lived through this because he's very loud.
You mean like when he would sleep? And
He still has them.
He has nightmares.
terrors,
Like
yeah.
he'll relive what's happened, and it's very loud. So I felt sorry for him. I would be walking down the hallway just to make sure he hasn't hurt himself, and then I always realized he was having nightmares.
Sister, great point, because he literally would fight in bed as if he was, physically fighting. After Zarko left Iraq, he and Hovagim moved back to Iran. He started a successful business making molds for toys and other products. After nearly a decade, his dream of coming to America was still alive, but first he needed to find a good Armenian wife. He set his sights on Rozik Pakhanyan, also a displaced Armenian, born and raised in a foreign land.
I am born in Tehran, Iran. When I went with Madame Shura to that bra shop, she made it possible he is in the bra shop because he would take his clothing for alteration. That lady, she loved him because she had an old husband. I talk too much. And her husband, poor guy, he would sit, put chair outside of her shop. this husband would go in, love her, and come out. Now we are in that store. Those things I've been told by him. Why he was thinking to come to United States. That lady, she told me, because she knew I'm leaving for university. She said, I have a guy, he wants to get married with a good girl and take her to USA. Armenian, named Zaros, ran away from Russian government, 1947. Oh. I was 25 something, big girl, need a man. I want to run away from home. My mother is giving us hell. In that store, with that gray suit, chic with his tie, but his face was yellow. He had mustache. In Iran, they keep small mustache. His eyes caught me. I was this vest, chic. I liked him. He asked Shura how I can get in touch with her. I gave Shura my bank telephone. I had telephone. He called the bank, let's go movie. We went to movie. We walked to his apartment. He said, I show you my cat. He had a cat named Mimi. He took me in. He couldn't find his cat. Dom Rosie, I cannot realize he didn't take me for cat to show me cat. He wants to see if I am, which kind of girl I am. Oh. He kissed me. He threw me to the bed. He had gorgeous nickel, chic bed. He started touching me. I pushed him. I'm strong. He was nice. I tell you. He got up and one cognac. Why I like cognac? All my life. I show you, I buy $70 cognac, not one, 6. Because of that, he said, oh, you are not poor, that you don't wanna I touch you. I said, why you have to touch me? You don't take my word? I haven't seen no man touching me. Only they hug me, they kiss me, dancing. When we had our dinner, we went movie. We came, he proposed. He talked about United States, and I showed him my United States. Okay, we got engaged. He was supposed to go to get marriage certificate. Before getting married, 1 month before, he touched me. No one knows that. Only him and me. I want to vomit. It's why I'm vomiting. I have these 2 girlfriends, my childhood girlfriend. They took me to the doctor, woman doctor called Ashken. Because my mother, she would get pregnant, I would take her to abortion. She did 8 abortions. That doctor said, Rosek, you're 21 I didn't have my period. You are pregnant. Story short, we were getting married May 11, 1962. We married. Oh, he got me trays of material, socks, diamond, watch, Omega watch with black. I have it. Now, my baby's born January 8, 1963.
Once they were married and Susie was born, Rosic and Zarko packed up and landed in New York in 1963 on their way to settling in Hollywood, California in that same year. You were able to finally make it here, and I still can't believe that he made it. They went through New York, they made it to California, and here we are now. In 1967, I was born. My parents named me after that mysterious cat Dad had claimed he wanted to show Rosic on their first date. In 1970, Lisa was born. When we moved to Glendale, one of the reasons was Mom's sister lived here, and that was one of the reasons we moved to Glendale.
She forced us to come here.
She forced us to come. and you weren't the tough guy anymore.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. So you basically did what your wife told you to do. Basically. Right? So basically, Mom and Asaf, we're gonna move to Glendale, and you said, okay, we will. Right?
Right.
And you loved Glendale.
Oh yeah. Her sister was live here in Glendale. We lived in Hollywood. Yeah. But anyway, I didn't like her.
He became a chef, like he was learning to be different professions just to survive. And so when they came here, that's what I remember. He was a chef in a restaurant, right? Mom was the waitress.
In regards to my dad's business here in the U.S. and how he built his empire, is what we'll call it. You know, him and my mom had a diner. And after that, after about a year, he just didn't want to be making eggs and bacon for people. He wanted something bigger. Through a friend, Zarko changed careers. He moved from filling trash bins at his diner to picking up dumpsters and hauling them off. This business was much more lucrative, but also more competitive. So when he got into the trash business through someone that he knew, he actually became a blue-collar driver. He drove the truck. Did you buy the truck, Pop?
Yes.
You bought the truck.
Everything.
And you drove it for many, many years.
And
you had a bunch of routes.
Jobs.
How many routes did you have approximately?
How many routes I started?
Yeah.
Nothing, about 5, 10 of them.
Right. So then from there, he grew a bunch of, accounts.
And I remember my dad one day having to drive a route, and he had promised he would pick us up that day from school. And instead of picking us up in his Regal Buick, he picked us up in the big dump truck.
Well, lo and behold, our school was on a very narrow street in Hollywood, and it was a private Armenian school that we went to, Alex Pilibos. And Lisa and I are standing there, and a couple of friends are leaving with their parents, and here comes the blue trash truck barreling down the street. Almost looked like in a movie, like it was gonna rip off side view, mirrors of other cars parked. And here it comes, and I'm like, oh my God, sister! He came with the trash truck. I was like, sis, oh my God, is anyone looking? Like, are our friends still here? And then we turned around and we just kind of ran, looking over our shoulders like, we hope no one sees us. And Dad came out, he had his hat on, his hands are dirty, he's in his trash suit. And
we're approaching the trash truck, which we have to climb into. And I looked at Dad and I let him have it. And I said, I can't believe you picked us up in this trash truck. We're so embarrassed. And he looked at me and he said, get your butt up in the truck. If I didn't have this truck, you wouldn't have a roof over your head. And I was like, whatever. And I thought he could have just slapped me across the face, but he didn't.
But he told us he was going to pick us up, and so he did.
And I think just more so with Dad, going from driving the truck to then hiring someone and buying another truck and finding an Armenian partner to grow that business was sort of amazing to see.
He has worked all of his life. He would jump in that pickup truck, that dump truck. 2 a.m. we'd get a phone call. He'd hear the phone. He'd pick it up, and it's his worker who's calling out sick. He would have to don his gear, jump in his car, drive over, pick up his pickup truck, and run those loads because it needed to get done. He would work at 2 a.m., he'd come home by noon or 1 o'clock, go to sleep. So we would not see him as often, but we were well provided for, always. My dad was driving me and my sister to school one morning, to the Armenian school in Hollywood. And the route was always Los Feliz, all the way. And we're driving towards Hollywood, and we're seeing his truck coming down the hill.
In the dump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming down the hill. And he says, oh, that's my driver, that's my truck. And we said, oh, and he's like, oh my God, the forklift is up. It's supposed to be down because this gentleman, the driver, is entering the freeway. And the forklift would hit the bridge, the overpass on the freeway. So we're passing him along Los Feliz. The truck is coming down. My dad starts honking and screaming, makes a U-turn, starts speeding behind his driver. He gets on the freeway, the driver. I am not kidding. Maybe 10 feet before that overpass, my dad is honking and swerving and screaming. This man finally pulls over. My dad jumps out. He jumps out and he's like, what is going on? He's like, look at your forklift, it's straight up. He would have knocked down, he would have flipped the truck, he would have knocked down that bridge.
Under the bridge?
Yes, do you remember?
Yeah, in Freeville.
On the freeway,
yeah.
Exactly right. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
I remember
I've been
that
going
vividly.
after him. He's a nice guy, but because he was working hard, he was a, what they call him?
Guitarist? Musician.
Musician.
Yeah.
He didn't sleep enough. All the time, he had accident after that. At 12 midnight, he goes, Zarko, I have an accident, come on in Hollywood.
He went from a dirty trash guy who would get into fights on the road with people flipping him off. He literally would cut them off, get out of the truck, go up to them and say, hey, who are you flipping off? And he literally punched a guy once in the face. But then he's come home to to my mom, and she'd be, he was bleeding. His nose was broken. And I never saw that, but hearing those stories just made me think, oh my God, my dad, first of all, is such a tough guy. Yeah.
He started telling us about some of his, he would wake up every morning at midnight and go out to work. Sometimes he would have to drive the truck. So he had a lot of different service points, and a lot of them were donut shops. And around these donut shops, there were a lot of prostitutes, but they knew him, and because of the pickup points all the time. And so there were nights where he would go to pick up the trash, and they would approach Zarko, and they'd say, Zarko, tonight's been a really slow night. We have not made a lot of money. And he said, okay, hold on, let me see if I've got some money. Whatever he had in his pocket, if it was $5, $10, $3, and he would just hand it out to all the prostitutes. He never has a problem giving money to the people who don't necessarily ask for it or demand it. So then across the way from there, there's a motel across the way from the donut shop, and he's got a pickup point there too for trash pickup, waste pickup. And he'd go over, and the motel guy would come out and say, I need some money, I want some money. My dad would say, a little more demanding. So my dad would say, hold on, I don't have any cash on me, but let me go back to my truck, my wallet's in the truck. Instead of coming back with a wallet, he came back with a crowbar. And he said, you want money? And he held up the crowbar. And the prostitutes from across the way saw this happening, so they started running across the street, wanting to protect my dad, wanting to protect Zarko. So they're like, Zarko, what's happening? Why, what's going on? So they were coming to his rescue as well, to save, help
Nobody
him.
can force me.
Right.
If they ask me, we are hungry, then
Yeah.
okay. But if they said you have to,
Right. Exactly. Isn't that funny?
Well, he was going through a tough time in the garbage business, and it was essentially mob business back then. And so everybody had to fight for their routes, right? How do you fight for the routes? You think modern day, well, you have certain routes, and you buy the routes from the other teams. But this, back then, it was just, you just take them over, right? And so you would essentially start picking up the garbage in places that you didn't pick up the garbage before, and that would start essentially a war between the garbage companies.
So Dad had a lot of integrity, especially if he said he would do something, he would. And if he's going to help someone such as my uncle in the trash business, there was this one story that really resonated that I remember. And Dad, remember when you were helping in the trash business, those trucks that were, there was almost, I'm going to use the word like a mafia of trash companies, right? And what happened when there were those trucks that you had to go destroy?
My favorite story is when he came to the Hamptons and he told us about the story when someone, I think, burned down like one of his trucks or something, and then he went over to their place and burned down all of them.
because I sold my rest of the route to him.
Oh, because you gave your business
now
to Uncle.
I wasn't in the business.
Got it.
And then all of a sudden, that son of a bitch, he burned my brother-in-law's
truck.
Yes.
Okay. So what did you
It
do?
was a rainy day, strong rainy day. I got in my rifle, gun, not gun.
Okay.
Yeah, I put it here. And two, what they call it, 5 gallon or 6, more diesel.
Okay.
I put it in, and 2 towel.
Okay.
And I went, it was rainy. Because a few months before I been, going after him where he buys,
where he parks the trucks.
It was a little bit more than Montebello. Everything is just okay.
What time of day? Vor Jamanakin.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Midnight.
Okay.
I went over there. Bah. It's a 4 or 6, brand new. He ordered
Brand new
it, it's over there.
trucks, right?
Nothing. It was a wire thing, Okay, I took those 2 gallons because it was a fence. I jumped it because I'm professional jump from the train. That was nothing for me. I jumped it. Each gallon, one for this truck, brand new, beautiful. And others, one, 2. And those towels, I make a diesel, I bring it out,
And where did you put the towels?
Huh?
With the diesel, where did you put
Well,
the
I
diesel?
put it in a towel, diesel,
Yes.
and I throw it. It's this distance.
Okay.
I throw his towel top of the trash.
On top of the truck.
Truck. Just the towels. And I was ready.
In case someone came.
Was they go? I'm gonna kill him if somebody comes.
Okay.
If he's a killer, I'm a killer too.
First of all, they have the gumption to go do that. And number one, and number two, doing that knowing, who owns those trucks, right? To me, I was just like you said, with your mouth open, like, oh my God, you really just took him on head on. And they knew he did it, right? And he wasn't scared at all, right? He said, this is what we fight for. This is what I came to this country for. I have to fight for everything I have, and that's what I'm gonna do, and you're not gonna take it from me.
My dad is he's a tough man.
In the morning, yeah.
He had peace of mind now.
Newspaper, it says, newspaper came out. My English is not good. I said, what is it in this? Well, look at what says.
Who
He
said
said-
that, Mom?
Mom and got that.
Okay.
It says, couple of years, it was a one truck burning. Now, two. It's just between trash men is war.
Got it.
And I didn't say in a circus, I swear of God,
Until recently.
until a couple of months ago.
So apparently he just told my uncle.
Because she's a chicken, what can I do?
You hear all the other stories about, being in war camps and things like that, which was, obviously, it's heart-wrenching stories. But then you hear that as somebody who can stand up for themselves in the way he did, and not only himself, but somebody else's friend. It's an amazing story.
After that, they put my name, Godfather. If somebody have a problem between trash man, they give it to me.
What is it that I know about you?
Who, you or him?
I know about you that
Ah.
someone else may not know about you. So my dad, as strong of a man as he is, strength as well as demeanor, is a very soft soul deep down inside. A good, good man. Everyone knows him to be a good man, but I don't think they know him to be so soft.
As Armenians not born in Armenia, it is still important for Rosic and Zarko to keep their culture alive.
My parents, since birth, our language has always been Armenian. Primary language has always been Armenian. They only spoke Armenian to us, probably because they didn't speak English. The secret language was Farsi, was Persian, between the two of them. So we never got to learn Persian, but we did grow up speaking Armenian.
We went to an Armenian school, and you would take us from Glendale to Hollywood because that was important for your kids were in an Armenian private school, and you wanted to keep that heritage alive.
We have always had a sense of warmth. The Armenian people in general is a very warm people. And we are a very generous and caring type of people.
My other favorite story about my dad, I would say in America, is about how generous he was to people here who were coming from, Armenia or from a different country, and how they looked at my dad to help them out. And my dad was always so generous, whether it was financial or with his time or even helping people with their jobs. Like my uncle, who also had a trash business. My father was very instrumental in helping him.
We grew up in a household where our tables are always full of food. As you came in yesterday and you saw the table was always full. This is our normal table. You walk into a house where you walk into the house thinking that we've always been expecting guests to come over.
Though Zarko has a reputation as a tough guy, his girls all have a soft spot for him.
Chain.
The chain? Oh, he's saying that his children are his chains. They're linked to him. And
I die for them.
Something that I'm so proud about my father. It's a common theme that just resonates in my mind about my dad. He's always been a provider. He's always been a protector for all of us, for the immediate family, the 4 of us women in the house, and beyond, the extended family, any friends who have needed help. Anytime anyone would ask for assistance, he would always be there. No questions asked.
Question for what?
Nope. Not a question for you.
Dad offered at that time, Carvel ice cream was big. Now that dates me, of course. So he said, honey, would you be interested? And this was before I was about to go to college. How about if I buy you one, you run it? Okay. He goes, yeah, we can buy it right here in Glendale. You run it for us. Is that something you're interested? I'd like to be involved with it, he said. I go, because obviously he was always good with us, right? And
right.
Exactly. I'm like, you trust me to run a business? That's nice, you know? And young age, I was only 17, 18 when we're discussing this whole stuff. So I'm like, Dad, and I felt so bad. I go, Dad, I have it in my heart though. I want to go to college. I want to get a degree, because it turned up I was the first one, I think, in our family, in our relatives, to get a degree. So I wanted that. That was important for me. So he goes, okay, honey, I just wanted to give you an option, so I don't feel like I had to go to college.
I think he placed an importance on education, because when he came to America, he probably realized his English wasn't that strong, nor was Mom's. You know, they struggled to have the businesses that they did, and they saw that education kind of gave you a jump start, or a little leg up on making more money down the road if you have an education.
I think he wanted us to be intelligent too. He just wanted to have smart kids.
I think because my dad not only was a fighter, but was so kind and generous. And even though he may be proud of himself or sort of get a little cocky at times, deep down, he's just, how can I say, he's humble. There's a humility to him. Even though he loves talking about all these wild stories, there's a humility that is really just, it's unbelievable. And I just think the determination and the strength that he had is, I hope, instilled in me. And I don't know what else I can say, Pop.
I love my children, really. I die for them.
We know you would. And you taught us how to fight and to, I think out of all my sisters, I'm the loud mouth, and I actually love defending other people when they don't speak up for themselves. And I feel like that's what my dad also taught me.
Every time I think about my grandpa, I definitely think about the strongest guy I've ever met. Every time I bring a boy over, he always does the knuckle test with them, makes sure he interlocks knuckles with them, and really checks if they're a strong guy, makes him pull on it. He's definitely taught me to be strong my entire life.
Usually I don't hug him a lot. He more like shakes my hand, and like since he was a trash worker, like his hand, like he has very good grip strength. So like he'll do that with like my dad or like my uncle, and he'll just like squeeze their hand super hard. But then he'll like, for me, he'll be like, oh, it hurts.
All I picture when I think of my grandfather is sitting next to him on the arm of his chair. and me telling him that I'm really strong. And he just lets me go crazy. Like, if I want to punch him, if I want to squeeze his arm or his hand or the knuckle test or whatever. And he just sits there really quiet. And then when I finish, he looks at me and he just squeezes me once and I fall to the floor and that's it. And I think that I've shaped my life around that, where you let people do their thing, you let them think what they want to think, and then you just show them how awesome you are without saying anything. And that's the most badass thing ever.
This strong sense of right and wrong, like this is the way it should be. People shouldn't treat other people like this. And so I'm going to stand up for what's right, even though it's putting myself, potentially my family, at danger in doing so. When in fact, he could just walk away very easily. And it's interesting because his daughter has the same, Mimi is exactly the same.
You know, this lady is my boy.
I know.
No, really.
Thanks.
She fights like a man.
Mimi will go places and will be in line. If someone cuts in line, there's no way she's letting it go. And it couldn't be that the person, it couldn't even be her line. It could be the line next to her. And so we'll be standing in one line, someone cuts another line, it doesn't impact us whatsoever, but she has to speak out and say, hey, that's not the line, go back to the back of the line. And so many times I've told her, just stop, like leave it alone, it's okay, but it's wrong, you can't do that.
You know, I'm one of the 3 girls that he had, but he always told me that I'm his, you know, the son that he never had, because when we would get in trouble as kids, you know, he grew up with the mentality of, you know, you got a little spank if you weren't following the rules in the household. And he told me I never cried. And so I kind of think I'm a tough girl because of that. And maybe because he always reiterated, you're like my son. And I don't know if I like that.
She never obeyed to me.
And she has that same sense of right or wrong that her father has instilled in her. It's very admirable, right? Particularly in the day and age where people compromise a lot of themselves quite often. Right? Just have that kind of old school, this is right, this is what I'm going to fight for. It's an amazing trait.
So he does this really weird thing where it's quite discerning. When you walk into a room or sit by him, he can just look at you. You don't have to look at him, but he'll look at you and he'll know exactly how you are feeling. And he feels it. So he always knows when something is wrong. Even if I come in smiling, he knows something is wrong, but he doesn't make you talk about it. You just sit by him, he says something is wrong, and then he just puts his hand on your hand, and then he'll say something to the effect of like, do I need to kick some ass? But like in like a more Bulgarian stoic way. And then he just kind of sits with you.
I remember last summer we would go clean up the branches and like put them in the trash because he likes doing that. And then I would go on like a walk with him and like tell him how to get back. And then like he went on a walk once by himself and he got like lost and we had to like go find him.
That was really fun.
And he was like sweating and stuff when we got him.
We were by the pool one day and he picks up a bee off the table or the bricks or whatever, and he lets this bee walk across his lips. And he's just looking at us and letting this bee walk all over his lips and his face and just on his tongue a little bit. And we were so scared just staring at him. But he's definitely the bravest man ever.
I'm so proud of my dad, especially he's like the last man standing. When he doesn't have a lot of friends left on the earth, they've all passed away. He has one buddy that's still alive.
Maybe people, they don't understand me, but I worry for everybody from my family.
Every single time we come home now, he will grab my face, and I know he does it to all of us, but he grabs my face and just says, I love you so much. What is it that I can do for you? I hope you're happy. He says, I haven't done anything for you guys. He doesn't feel as though he's done anything for us because he wasn't able, he didn't give us a lump sum of money for a deposit for a house or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's financial.
And I always have to, it's financial.
It's always financial.
And I always have to remind him You bought us all our cars. You put us all through school. We never left this. We didn't leave this house with a loan. We didn't leave in debt. Till this day, he will support us, whichever way, physically, financially, if he could, he would. I remind him of everything that he has done for us. And the tough guy that he is, and the people, you know, the person, you know, he's killed someone, he has protected people, he has beat people up. Us, we've always been the joys of his eyes. We've always, our kids, her kids, my kids, all of us, we've always been the joy. And he, till this day, says, I live for you guys. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. Because he looks at his girls and he looks at the grandkids around him. And as much as they might argue, my parents, he looks around his home and he's got a safe and secure place to be and call his home, and to be able to have us back every year. Mimi comes home a couple times a year. Susie's here a few times a year. We're able to come in and out of the house. We all have a key. We're always welcome to come in, calling or not calling. So he and my mom have both made a very comfortable home to come home to.
For more than 50 years, Zarko and Rozik have maintained a home filled with joy, clearly entertaining everyone around them, as well as each other.
While we're waiting, is that the wedding picture of you and Rose?
Yeah.
Okay. From 58 years ago?
Me and the devil.
It's not what you expect. You know,
Do you want to
they're
answer it like right? Go ahead, sorry.
Showmanships. They're both very social, but they do clash when they're alone, even in front of us. So they let it all out when it's just the girls.
I pour it, look.
She's the number one drinker.
Oh, I swear God. This is first
You want to drink now?
Where is chocolate?
I would say the relationship between mom and dad, they're both just very strong personalities. You know, mom's, like Susie said, a firecracker. She's very outspoken, opinionated.
I'm trying to change the love language in our family, but it is a lot of love. Love with deep disdain attached to it.
Zarko, will you don't argue?
I'm not arguing.
Okay. Can I ask you, remember you took me to your apartment and you gave me cognac. Can you remember?
I was stupid.
I was
And yet she's this under 5 foot tall woman with this voice and this presence that could make any man, whether they're 6 foot tall, feel like they're a little midget.
Take the cognac, let's drink and finish. I am exhausted. Will you take the drink?
Finish what?
Take this. He doesn't understand.
Okay.
You're gonna drink like this?
Amen.
Okay, I know, but hold it nice. I gave him less and I took this. Salute, Zarkojan. I wish you live, you're 93. 12 years more. Oh.
How much?
That's nerkutari.
No.
Be careful, don't drop it on your show. Your salute.
Salute.
I love you.
For everybody. See? She drinks just like, water. Alcoholic.
They're an amazing couple, and they both have such unique characteristics. You know, Rose, I always say, like a little Tasmanian devil, and she's going and constantly moving and doing so many things, and just full of love and energy. And Zarko is a little more reserved. He's really a man's man, right? The way he grew up, the way he introduces himself, the way he holds himself.
When she starts to talk, there is no end.
She was the one that was home with us, taking care of us, and our protector when Dad wasn't home. Like that one time, there was an earthquake in LA, from what I remember, and she
rushed us into, we had a Cadillac at that time, and she kept us in the car, and she was our provider. She brought us food and water and kept us in the car and made us feel safe. They definitely fought a lot, but they also respected each other for what their roles were in our lives. I mean, I would say they lived for us for the most part.
I think they continue to live for us. I think they continue to live for us, for their grandchildren.
Why you drink my cognac? That's mine.
That was my cup.
See, did you see? Always my life is like that. Everything which is mine, she takes.
She tries to control him a lot because she wants the best for him. That's how she loves. And she just controls really hard. And that's a pattern in our family.
In the women?
Definitely in the women. There's no men in the family, so.
I wasn't good man, but I don't understand. How come you got married?
Because I like your appearance, and I thought I can change him.
You gonna change me?
No, I didn't change him. I changed.
They're delightful. Our friends love them. They're always saying, how are your parents? You know, your mom's a firecracker, and dad is more like, you know, very, very balanced, quiet, and they love his fortune telling. So that's a big deal, especially with my female friends. They're like knocking on the door. When can we come over?
He is love of my life. I won't change him for whole world because he provide me, he took me to United States, rich, and gave to whole family.
Sometimes, like 10 seconds ago, they'd be like, "Oh, I love you so much," and then like now they're just like fighting. They're like, "Oh, you're so nice."
You don't talk. You don't have
talent.
No.
You know the statement of you can't live with them, you can't live without them. It's absolutely true in this household where in one line my dad will say, "God, she drives me crazy." But then he'll turn around and he'll say, "She works so hard, I feel so bad for her. You know, she does so much around the house." And then the next statement will be, "I could take care of myself. But then she gives me my vitamins and my pills and my food and, you know, dresses my bed every single day." And so it's very contradicting.
Do I take care of you good? How many years? Whoa.
I don't know, I have to think it.
It's lasted this long. They've been married for
almost 60 years, 58 years they've been married.
That's end of our story.
While working for his father in the coffee shop, Zarko discovered he had a gift to predict the future through reading coffee cups, a revered skill he learned from the gypsies of Bulgaria.
Anytime I go visit them, I always have a cup of Armenian coffee, and he'll always read my fortune.
When he was younger, of course, and he was working with his father at the time, so as a young kid, he actually had this sense, and he wanted to entertain the customers.
Zarko learned how to read fortunes from the fortune tellers in the mountains of Bulgaria. They were these gypsies that he became friends with, and they taught him this fun thing, how to read, you know, someone's life story through images in a cup.
You drink all of your coffee until you get to the thick grounds, place your saucer on top, rotate it and turn it towards your heart, and let it sit for a minute. The coffee grounds drip and dry, and so he'll read the coffee cup and tell you your fortune.
He is able to see different formations, whether they are, and different things.
Symbols.
They're symbols like trees. He'll see a tree, and tree means growth of family or growth within your own family or your life. He will see
A rooster,
a
which
rooster
means
which brings good
luck.
messages. He will see candles, and if he sees candles, he'll say, do you see the 4 candles? You're going to have 4 different good messages coming your way. And then it depends on the distance from each other, and he'll say within the next 4 months. Like he's able to identify kind of the timing. Or he'll say within the next couple of weeks, you should get a really good message from someone who is tall, a gentleman who's tall, who's wearing a hat and has no hair. Something so simple, like something so detailed. And he'll say, if it doesn't happen within the next 2 weeks, it's not coming.
It's always positive. Anytime there's anything negative in the cup, he'll always face it as, yes, you may be going through something difficult right now, but you will get through it. And it's always beautiful. He always tells me that there's a message for me, that there's good news coming my way, that I shouldn't ever be scared of life.
It does give you a little bit of hope and excitement. But one of my girlfriends had come, and she had lost her husband and years before. And he doesn't really know anything about her, but he sees her and he would talk to her. And he read her coffee cup, and she's not Armenian. And he said, you know, within the next few weeks, you're going to meet a man who has got a ponytail. He's got long hair, and he's got a, what do they call it, a handlebar mustache. She's like, are you kidding me? Because she's pretty antisocial. She doesn't go out. And so I'm not kidding. A couple weeks later, I'm sitting having dinner at a restaurant with my daughters, and I get this phone call from her, and she never calls me. She calls me, and I thought something was wrong. She said, you'll never believe. I'm at my neighbor's house at a barbecue. This man approached me and is asking me out. He has a ponytail with a handlebar mustache. She freaked out. She dated him for over 1.5 years.
He's very receptive to emotions. He's very receptive to whatever you're going on in your life, whatever's going on in your life without even asking you. And that could be him, that could be from him being partly empathic or, you know, actually reading these fortunes or just being so close. But he's definitely a smart man emotionally.
Not only do our friends come and love to sit with Dad to have their fortunes read, he always prefaces it with, have fun with this. Give a little bit of, you know, gives you a little hope or a little glimpse into maybe your future, but don't live by it. You know, it's like, let's have fun, sort of a thing. And, you know, one of my uncles came every day to get his fortunes read, and my dad would say, why do you come every day? But he stopped saying that and realized it was almost like a companionship opportunity or time to spend with people. And so he did it very happily.
Once he retired from the garbage business, Zarko spent much of his free time traveling the world, usually alone. But no matter where he was, he loved to dance.
The big one that he's probably told me every single time I've ever seen him, the same story, every single time I've seen him, is him in, I think, Spain or Argentina, and he was by himself, just traveling the world, and there was a dance competition, and he wanted to enter because he loves dancing, but everyone had a partner, except for the girl whose boyfriend was a paraplegic. So he went up to the paraplegic and he said, can I take your girl and just enter the competition? And he did, and they won, and it was awesome. And he's told me that story every single time I've ever seen him. So I just hope he makes it to my wedding so we can dance together.
I like it, the dancing.
All in all, Zarko has led a remarkable life. From the humblest of beginnings in Bulgaria to surviving imprisonment in Iran and Iraq. From the trash of Hollywood to the comfortable lifestyle of Glendale, Zarko is a joy to us all.
The distance that he's traveled in life, it's a tribute to his ability to kind of go through those hardships and come out the other side stronger than what he went into it.
Till this day, he lives a simple life, but he's got so much. He looks around, he is rich. He is rich with love and his kids and his grandkids.
And life.
And life.
In my heart, It's that way. I want to help to everybody. I can't say bad thing for you or for her. I don't know why.
A lot of times you talk to people and they have an amazing story, but he has so many amazing stories. You think, oh my God, like you have traveled so far. And it's because he's never rests, right? He's always on to the next thing. He doesn't let that one setback put him down or kind of keep him where he is. He moves to the next one and he moves to the next one. So it's the culmination of everything. I think this is the most impressive to me.
He is tough, but also a kind and generous soul. He is an inspiration to family and friends, and hopefully to those of you watching. This is our love letter to him.
The biggest thing when I think of my grandfather is, it's kind of dumb, because I don't even really want to get married. I don't really want a wedding, but I really want to dance with him there, because that's what he's been saying for like the past 15 years. And I told my mom that if it comes to it and there's no man that I would marry and he's getting really old, I told her I would fake it. Okay. I told her that I would fake it, whether it be in a hospital room or in their house or whatever. I'll just get the family together, pretend I get married, so he can get up and so he could be happy and dance with me, because that's what he's been saying forever.